Playbook for Performance, the official podcast of Shawna Corden, the Joan of Arc for corporate healing and performance. Join the quest to make work fun again by preparing leadership for engaging workplaces. And now, your host.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Playbook for Performance podcast. I'm your host, Shawna Corden, and this month we're talking about team coaching. Today, specifically, we're going to talk about the topic of building trust. Now, sometimes people think, well, this is a no-brainer. Why are we spending time on this? But it's kind of shocking to find out the number of people who have so little trust in their organizations, in their management, and their coworkers. And so today we're going to talk about opportunities for you to build trust, what the key elements are, and the strategies really behind building trust. So let's get into it. So it was interesting. As I was preparing to do today's podcast, I was thinking through, well, I think I know what trust is, right? And it was this idea I just wanted to punch in. Here's what I think about it. And then I wanted to look up the actual official definition on this. So my prediction was the confidence that others will follow through with your predictions. So whether it's your faith, it's believing in something that doesn't have proof, or if it's trust in an agency, it's here's what the procedure says, so therefore I believe that this will happen. Or if it's a friend, a partner, it's this is how I feel about this person. This is what I trust they will do in a given situation. And the official Oxford definition is this firm belief in the reliability, truth, or ability or strength of someone or something. So sometimes we're talking about the integrity of a chair. We trust that it'll hold our weight. Or a car will stop in time to prevent us from rear-ending someone, etc. And it was interesting because when it looked at the similarities, it said freedom from suspicion or doubt. And I think that is the challenge we have in the workplace, is suspicion or doubt that others are kind of rooting for you, that they recognize your contributions, that they will follow through with what's planned for your development and all of that. So really interesting stuff. But now that we've gotten to the basics of what trust is really about, let's talk more about what it means with teams. Now, over at Harvard, they did some really interesting research. The paper that I dove into was from 2017. And it looked at this idea of compared with people at low trust companies. So let's say, it's the used car dealership of blank, blank, blank. People at high trust companies report 74% less stress, 106% more energy at work, 50% higher productivity, 13% fewer sick days, 76% more engagement, 29% more satisfaction with their lives, and 40% less burnout. Now, let's go back to the definition of engagement. The engagement definition is productivity, profitability, and retention. So, big deal here. This is money. This is money. This is super important. So, if you think about this is the kind of stuff that really does contribute to retention. So, if you're struggling holding on to talent, if they've got less stress, if they have more energy, they get more work done, they're not needing their sick days either for mental health or for actual, immune system is suffering. More satisfaction, less burnout. This is huge, 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 huge. So trust is not something to be trifled with. So what do we do about it? So really the whole key behind this is consistency. So think about this. The last leader that you worked with, how well were you able to predict how they would react to any given situation? So if you came to them and you said, we've got a decision to make, we have a little fire drill, this is what's going on, anything like that, with what confidence can you predict how they'd react? Calmly, okay, let's figure this out, let's bring in this, or was it completely unpredictable? You just didn't know what manager you were going to get that day. They were sort of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation. So when people are unpredictable, whether that be partners, agencies, managers, pets, our trust level goes down pretty significantly. So the next element that helps build trust is competence. Do we trust that they have the ability and follow through to get things done? And I always think of this as the other half of sort of self-esteem. Self-esteem is built by keeping commitments to ourselves. So if we say we're going to go to the gym, we go to the gym, that builds our self-esteem. I think this is also true when it comes to trust in the area of competence. Could they do it, but they didn't do it? Or did they do the best they could and they couldn't do it? And follow on, the next piece is they communicated. So I promised you this on July 1st. I came to you June 28th and said, I am not going to be able to make this deadline, and renegotiated and had a very good reason why not. I was trapped under something heavy, whatever it might be. But proactively communicating, negotiating new deliverables or new dates, whatever it might be. And then compassion. Do they look at the situation with a compassionate eye in terms of, I feel badly about that situation, I'm being reasonable about this situation. We don't necessarily want sympathy. Sympathy can at times be patronizing. We don't really want that. But we do want sincere care that suggests that I'm here for you, I recognize this is hard, and so on. And I think all of these, this is my personal opinion, I think all of these need to be present at some level, or a significant demonstration in that direction. Like perhaps they are brand new to the industry, and so they're competent in management, but not so competent in the food industry. Well, let's give them a little bit of a break and a learning curve. But let's say it's 2 years and they've made no attempt to learn the new industry. Well, your confidence and trust in them will go down. So those are the key elements that we really need to dive into. Let's talk about some strategies that will help you build this trust as well. So transparency, I think, is the number one situation, whether it's a negotiation, whether it's expectations, whatever it is, it's what needs to be said and put it out there. And sometimes people think they're being transparent, but they've got so much going on kind of in the back of their head that they've worked through already. Or they're so far ahead of you that they just assume you know what they know. And we need to say, hold on, back up. What I really need is for you to walk me through how you got here, how you arrived at this place, how you made this decision, whatever it might be. We really want to encourage that in asking curious questions. I would avoid using the word why. I've talked about this on the podcast a bunch of times. Why tends to put people on the back foot. They begin to feel that they have to defend their position. They did something wrong, something like that. So try not to use why. Help me understand is a really good alternative to that. So help me understand, walk me through, or you can just say, I'm sorry, I am not getting from A to B. Help me see this. What am I missing? So those can be really good phrases to use to help you get through that. Consistent, reliable actions. Again, this goes back to that predictability. If I bring you a fire drill on Tuesday, can I trust that you're not going to shoot the messenger? Can I trust that you're going to do the most ethical thing, et cetera, et cetera? Those are important things. If we go back to like manufacturing, we're thinking about a consistent, repeatable, robust process. We kind of want humans to be that way too. We want them to be repeatable. We want to be able to expect that they're going to function the way that they have functioned in the past for us. And it's okay if someone has an exception. Sometimes people have a flat tire. Sometimes people didn't get out of bed the right way. But it should be a 20% deviation, not an 80% deviation. So, building personal relationships. We have also talked about this on the podcast before, where it's this idea of we are constantly making deposits with our actions and our words being in alignment. So you can think of them as, marbles in a jar. Every time I promise something, say something, it proves to be true, I follow through. It's like making little deposits in that jar. If I wish I could say it was a one-to-one relationship, but if I do something that violates that, it's not a one-for-one relationship. It's the equivalent of 5 marbles come out of the jar. Sad, but true. Warren Buffett made the comment, it takes 20 years to build a great brand. It takes 15 minutes to destroy it. So think about that. Guard your words and actions. In the book, The 4 Agreements, one of the statements is be impeccable with your word. Imagine that every statement you make is going to be on social media forever, or it's going to be a billboard in the office. You want to make sure that what you commit to, you follow through with. So, building personal relationships, we're really talking about those deposits over and over again, and those have to be with time and follow through. So, and it needs to go both ways. You share some of yourself as you ask questions of others. Very important, very important. It can't just be one way. So, and we've all read novels about characters that were only one way. They tend to be the psychopaths. So, the more you get to know them individually, obviously, the more you know about them, the more that you can tailor your responses to their needs for what they need to perform at their best. So think of it that way. So the next piece sometimes gives people the willies, this idea of encouraging vulnerability. So when we say that, do not think that this is the whole open the kimono, I'm going to share everything, it's going to be personal, it's going to be this, blah, blah, blah. As my mentor, Sonia, said, think of this as being available versus vulnerable. So you're willing to participate, you are willing to test things out, you're willing to experiment, you're willing to form a hypothesis, you're ready to go there. It doesn't have to be this, let me spill my guts and do this soul-searching conversation. It doesn't need to be that way. It can be something as simple as, I had a hard time with that too. Or, you're not the only one. Okay? So, those things go a long way. Our final strategy for building trust here is talking about recognizing and rewarding trustworthy behavior. So, we've often heard it said that character is really defined by what people do when no one's watching. This is, someone's got to observe it, and we reward it because it is the right thing to do. So it could be that you recognize that, Paul put off his own project that isn't due for 2 more weeks, to help, someone else on the team whose project was due tomorrow and they were behind. They needed an extra pair of hands. Things like that really help. Follow through, obviously, we want to praise follow through. And some of you out there might be thinking, really? Isn't that just kind of basic decency? Isn't that what we expect of humans, that they're going to do what they said they would do? Well, sadly, it's not that prevalent. So we want to reward it. We want to see more and more of this all the time. So, and just if you're interested in this topic, if you want to read more, Paul Zak has an article out at HBR, excuse me, management behaviors that foster employee engagement. So the guru there. I also want to share a couple of statistics that I just think are wow. PwC did a survey this year, 2024, a trust survey. 86% of business execs say they highly trust their employees. Only 60% of employees feel highly trusted by their employers. So big gap there in terms of the perceptions of what's out there. Another report on high-performing teams that came out last year, CIPD, emphasizes trust and psychological safety are crucial for team effectiveness. We're working on that here in the podcast, trying to share more of that. Teams that report higher levels of trust tend to perform better, exhibit greater resilience and cohesion. So you might be wondering, okay, great, what can I do? Well, one-on-ones and keeping those commitments to your subordinates or peers or your leader, just to do check-in, have some time on the agenda that's not structured to just foster this open communication. How's things going? What do you think the trends are? Just to learn more, be curious. Team building activities, sometimes this can be silly activities where you're just working together. Sometimes when I lead workshops, I will do the spaghetti, exercise. If you haven't seen it, it's quite amusing. But, Google's your friend here. So this is when you team building exercises. Remote, consider the remote versus in person. Feedback loops. Always be open to feedback, whether it's a suggestion box, a pulse survey. As I talked about last week, Team Coacher AI, our tool here, we're doing regular pulse surveys with teams to say, hey, where are we on this? Are we improving? And you can compare this pulse survey to that pulse survey, which is super helpful. And then finally, the last kind of piece of homework is transparent decision making. So walk the team through how the decisions are being made. What's the rationale? If you've already made the decision without soliciting input, tell them why. If you are asking for their feedback, be sure to let them know if you've already made the decision, if you're using their input in making the decision, or you're just curious, because employees get quite upset if they feel that you are wasting their time just so you can check a box and say, hey, I talked to you about this. So don't do that. Okay, so we're going to continue the series here. We are really excited about team coaching as an offering, the work that we can do, myself as a coach for your team in terms of improving trust, improving dialogue, improving the actual standards of behavior for your team, getting them all on the same page. So next time, we're going to be talking about effective communication in your teams. What helps, what doesn't help, what to do, what not to do. So don't miss our next episode. In the meantime, if you're listening on audio, know that you could be watching this on YouTube. Oh my gosh. So YouTube is a great place to drop your comments in if you have comments that you want to share, or if you have a question and you want free coaching on the fly. We can always talk about your topic during one of the podcasts. We do ask you, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your colleagues, your subordinates, etc. We believe it's great to grow together. A rising tide lifts all boats. So if we can be of help, please contact us at shawnacorden.com. And until next time, take good care.
Thank you for listening to Playbook for Performance. To learn more about Shawna Corden, her consulting programs and tools, please visit her website at shawnacorden.com and follow us on social media at Shawna Corden.